For those of you out there selling high ticket offers, coaching, info-based products, which do you typically prefer to use to generate new leads and new opportunities for your business? Cold outreach or warm outreach? In this video, we're gonna be breaking down both of them, and I'm gonna be sharing with you my opinion on both and what I feel is the most effective strategy to use to enroll new clients consistently. What's going on, guys? As we get right into today's video, for those of you that are new here to the channel, welcome in. If you've been here before, welcome back. And we're gonna dive right into today's topic of cold outreach versus warm outreach and which one you should focus on more in your business right now. I'm gonna talk through that much more in this video, including what we typically focus on more than anything to generate clients consistently in our business. And for you in particular, how you can go about using what we talk in this video to decide which is the best for you to put your focus on now. So straight away from the top, the way that I like to look at cold outreach versus warm outreach really comes down to a scenario of dating itself. And this dating scenario really goes hand in hand with the cold outreach scenario. Because to me, looking at messaging and looking at conversations as though they're a series of dates really helps us illustrate and understand our perception going into those conversations. And a lot of times it's easy for us to lose sight of that. We're thinking so much about me and making sales and offers that we're losing sight of them and the person that we're messaging itself. Now, with that aside, to kind of clear the air on both topics, the way that cold outreach works is typically more of a volume game. Warm outreach, you're typically going to see greater results with less volume itself. So with this cold outreach approach, this can be used by small beginner businesses, which is recommended and preferred because they don't have an audience yet to perhaps leverage warm outreach with. And it could even be for higher level businesses that already have an audience itself that typically use cold outreach to bring new prospects in. But to make this work, typically you're gonna have to put out a lot more volume to do this. Now, to make that volume more effective and to, in turn, create those conversations and turn them into opportunities and results, it's important to shift the perspective of how we're leveraging cold outreach in our business. Because if we look at the difference between the two, knowing that cold outreach is reaching out to folks that aren't familiar with us, that don't know us yet, that don't like us, and that don't trust us yet, versus warm outreach is connecting with the folks that are in our audience, that have maybe been engaging with our stuff, that are in our community, that are in our world, and have some touch points with us. Looking at these two pictures and scenarios, we know that the people in the warm outreach bucket are gonna be a lot more trusting and open to us when we come to them than people in the cold outreach bucket. So this typically means that that warm outreach category is going to lead to some quicker wins, some quicker opportunities, because that trust is already built. You've already done some work prior to you reaching out to them and getting them to see your content, being exposed to your stuff, finding out about who you are, how you help, problems you solve, etc., which is making them more educated about you and making it easier to create an opportunity from that itself. But on the cold outreach side, we have to work to educate them. We have to allow them to get to know us. And we also have to handle the conversation in a way that doesn't push them away, knowing that they have never met us or come in contact with us before itself. So this is where one of the first qualifiers that I look at when deciding which should I put more focus on is number one, how big is your audience? If your audience is below 500 people and you don't have many in it, you haven't been putting out content for some time, and you know you don't have a bunch of people on your list that know you, like you, or trust you yet, the best thing that you can do is be proactive and focus on cold outreach first and putting more effort into that, because this allows you to be proactive, go out and create opportunities, get in front of people as you're working to build that audience up. Whereas on the flip side, if you have an audience established, if you've been putting out content for some time and building up trust to your audience, you may not even have been putting out offers to them in your content. And in turn, you have a list of folks in your audience with a lot of trust built up and a lot of goodwill built up through the efforts that you put in place prior to you reaching out to them. So when you do go and reach out to them, the reason they're warm is because of those touch points they've had before that conversation started itself, which makes it a lot easier to really transition that conversation to an opportunity in a much more efficient way. So if you have an audience, I would always recommend to focus on warm first. If you don't have an audience, the best thing you can do is go out and be proactive and focus on cold first. But whether you do or whether you don't, some folks still prefer to put more weight on cold because it allows them to blast more people, get more messages out there, and in turn, maybe that's their process to creating opportunities. If that's you, the biggest thing to consider is when I'm reaching out to these cold folks, these people that don't know me, don't like me, don't trust me, how am I going about initiating that conversation? Am I trying to turn that cold conversation into an opportunity on the same day? What am I doing when I'm reaching out to them? What am I saying, etc.? Because if we are trying to create the opportunity on that same day that we reach out to them, the chances of it actually turning into an opportunity are slim to none. And the reason is because of the point we just talked on of the low trust within the conversation itself. When we look at these cold outreach conversations in a series of dates, it's much easier for us to step in and be successful with them. Because we know that, at least in my opinion, when it comes to going out on a date, I'm a married man, I haven't been on some dates in quite a bit of time now, but I know that if I were to take a girl out on a first date, or even taking my wife out on her first date, for example, when we first met, I know that if I would have asked her to go out to dinner, and right before this being the first time of us actually getting together, hanging out, and having a conversation, we sit down at the table and I say, hey, do you want to come over to my place afterwards? And I invite her to come over and sleep over. It's going to likely be rushing things too soon. She's probably going to say no. She's probably going to maybe be a little bit upset, depending on the type of person that she is. And she's going to be closed off to everything that I have to say beyond that point, including the dinner ahead. But if I focused on actually connecting with her in that first date, buying her dinner, getting to know her, showing interest in her first, what she's doing, where she's been before, what she's focused on right now, etc., everything in between. This is me actually focusing on building the trust in the relationship first and focusing on allowing me to actually make her open to a question later on in future dates if I earn that trust. So to me, the first date in a messenger conversation, especially within cold outreach, should be about earning that trust, earning the opportunity to ask them on the second date itself. So if you're reaching out to folks in Messenger, it's less about going right into your pitch, or less about, hey, saw we're connected with friends on Facebook, saw you're a ex-marketer, what do you do? And you're going right into business, right into problems, right into challenges that they're facing, and you're going into the doctor frame approach, trying to diagnose them and prescribe them to solutions right away. If we do that too soon, they're going to push us away. They're not going to be open. We first have to break the ice and build trust first. This is where I always recommend to make that cold outreach conversation initially about them. And rather than working to go towards a call into a sale, make the first step a small first step where they can take one step into your world further. Joining your Facebook group, opting in for a free lead magnet, getting some sort of free training from you that may be helpful to them. Something that we can show that we're going out of our way to build some goodwill and trust first, giving before asking, making it about them instead of about us. If we can do this, we can come back 1 to 2 days later after we make it about them first and we give that value first. And now they're going to be much more open to us having a future ask from there. If we look into their profile further and see maybe they're missing some sort of content in their profile that could be really helping their lead generation efforts. So we come back to them, show them what we saw as we did our due diligence and looked into their profile, their content, and what they're currently doing within their business. And we offer our insight and say, hey, I noticed this may be missing in your process right now. Ask them a question around that. From there, we can invite them to a call to talk about how we may be able to help improve that area of their business, improve their lead generation, improve in wherever we can help them in itself. And because we took the time to build that goodwill and trust, and we did our due diligence to start, now they're gonna be much more open to saying, yes, I'd love to hop on a call, I'd love to join your group, I'd love to find out more. On the flip side, when we look at warm outreach, it can really be broken up in less than 2 dates itself, because we know this person already has touch points with us. They already know us, they already like us, and they already trust us. They've already seen us before. And just like in this dating example, this would be essentially, I already had that first date with that person. They've already been familiar with you. They know what you're all about. So you coming in and saying, hey, I noticed you engaged on this recent post. Is this something you'd be interested in? Or, hey, I saw you just engaged in this post in my profile. Are you looking to check out this training? They're probably gonna be open to it right away and say, yes, I'd love to find out more, or yes, I'd love to hear more. And you can go right into more of those direct questions around their business, around maybe what they're facing with challenges, or around how you can help sooner rather than waiting and delaying it like you would have to do with cold outreach to get that same response. So when we look at both of these, they both are effective strategies to get in front of folks, create opportunities, present offers, and make sales. But we have to understand the differences between both so we can arm ourselves with the correct strategy to handle both in the correct way. And again, to go back to what we talked earlier in this video, if you have an audience now and you haven't been touching the folks in your audience, they've been engaging with your stuff and you haven't really had much conversations with them, oftentimes we can get into a mode where we think, man, these people are just supporting us, they're just showing love in our content, they're already in other programs, they're not interested in us. But in reality, without realizing it, those folks may be your warmest and best opportunities in front of you right now, and you're neglecting them and still focusing on the cold, even though you have them in your audience now. So use this video as a time to think and ask yourself, like, if I have an audience now, am I using that audience to my advantage, or am I just focusing constantly on the cold? If so, I would encourage you to shift and split your attention towards both. Put some more emphasis on the warm folks while still bringing some new cold folks into your world and getting them to take that first step itself. The nice thing amongst both is we always have the ability every single day to create opportunities. If we don't have any warm folks in our audience that we haven't messaged before, we haven't connected with, we haven't talked to recently, or our audience is low and we haven't built it up much yet, we can always go out, be proactive, and connect with new folks and bring new people into our pipeline and into our world. But the best and the quickest wins are always generated from the folks that are already in the pipeline, that have already had some touch points, and that have already been educated and familiar with the problems you solve and how you help. It's going to be much easier to transition that conversation, create the opportunity, and more importantly, to create the sale because of that education that's taken place before. Whereas if a cold lead, even if you follow that 2-date approach, there's a good chance that person could even hop on a call with you and let you know that, hey, I still need some time to think about it, because they're just starting to get to know how you help, the problems you solve, and what you're all about itself. And it takes some time for them to understand that and actually see and trust you in taking advantage of the solution that you put in front of them. So in conclusion here, there's a variety of ways that you can go out and get in front of new relevant prospects, create leads, create opportunities, and make sales for your business. Cold outreach being one, warm outreach being one. 2 of which that are in your control that you can leverage today, straight away after watching this video, to go out and use them to your advantage. Now, in addition to that, as you continue to grow, the biggest thing is that you want to start taking some weight off both, and where you can start actually generating inbound leads through your content. And these folks are typically some of the best leads itself, because these are people that have likely followed you for some time, that are reaching out to you off your content, showing interest, coming to you first so you don't have to come to them. But when we aren't seeing inbound leads come in consistently in our business, when our content isn't quite dialed into the point that is allowing that to happen consistently, then it's up to us to put the control in our hands and go out and make opportunities happen. 2 ways to do this is with cold outreach and warm outreach. And hopefully after today's video, you have some clarity on which one that you should be putting more focus on and how you can leverage this to create opportunities today. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, you got value from it, smash the thumbs up button before you head out. And if you have not yet already, be sure to smash the subscribe button before you go as well. Appreciate any love that you guys share in these videos. And as always, thanks again for watching. And I look forward to seeing you back on the next video very soon. As we get to the end of this video here, before you go and watch more, if you've not yet already, be sure to join our free Facebook community, Unleash CEOs. Inside this community, we share even more insider trainings, behind the scenes looks, and tips and strategies to support you in scaling your high-ticket info-based business, including exact trainings on how I was able to scale my business from 0 to over 500K in revenue in just 2 years' time, and how you can do the same. Click below, join the group, and I'll see you on the inside.